We're back on Born Before 64 with our Timeless Performer series, and we have some timeless performers sitting here tonight with us. We have Phil Paradis, we have Barbara Manning, and we have Paul Eisenman. And, you know, I really am excited about meeting you because you really are born before 64s, aren't you? Yeah, really not.
Definitely.
Yes, you are, aren't you?
Born before 1964?
Oh, yeah, 1964.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I remember
right?
Iwo Jima, for God's
Right, you remember that, huh? You remember that,
yes.
okay. Actually, I'm going to ask each one of you individually, do you like film or plays more? Phil?
I personally love going to the theater, seeing live theater.
And why?
Why? Wow, it's so enlivening.
Right, you want to get up and jump and dance and everything?
You know, the thrill you get from live theater, the performance of good actors, great actors, and stories that are moving and entertaining and engaging, compelling. It's just great. And I don't get me wrong, I will watch movies, and I like going to see movies.
But seeing Chicago or seeing some of the top stuff on Broadway or even at the Aronoff, and you do things at the Aronoff, don't you? There's different, plays that you do. Barb, film or plays?
I'm torn because whether I'm watching a film or a play, I'm critiquing the acting, and I'm looking at the production concept. And the wonderful thing about plays is to see a play done by one company, and then another company takes it and conceptually changes it. You know, for example, all the people who take a Shakespeare play, and I remember seeing one that was made like a hippie play in the 60s. I think it was As You Like It. So that kind of flexibility. But it's also seen in film in terms of some of the remakes, you know, that are done.
Do you like to do film yourself? Have you done film?
No, I've never done film, but I do love acting on stage.
Well, tonight you're on film. This is film.
Oh, well, I did film once many years ago as a graduate student, you know, but that was a little different. That was way back in time.
Right. Now, Paul, play acting or film?
For myself, or which would I rather watch?
Both.
Okay, I'd much rather watch movies, simply because you can slip in a disc and see the best talent around, anywhere. You can see, you know, the finest actors are right there.
Right.
Simple as that. Would I prefer to be? I've enjoyed both. I enjoy being on stage. You know, being on stage really tests your technique.
Right.
And
what's the hardest character that you've had to play?
The hardest character? What do you mean by hard?
The one that took you a while to get into.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I've recently did a piece called Visiting Mr. Green. And the character that I played was the only character in literature I have found anywhere that is as close to my own departed stepfather as any I have ever found. And it was very hard to suspend judgment of the man in order to play him.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And the funniest character you've ever done in your life?
Just like that, huh?
Put you on the spot.
Well, I think the solo performance piece that I'm working now is
it's pretty funny.
Pretty funny, yeah.
Right.
But I haven't yet played it.
Right. You haven't played it yet.
Well, I'm going to give a workshop production of it in May.
And you do acting classes too, don't you?
Yes, I do. I've gotten much better at seeing what student actors are doing or not doing, and coming up with something that will guide them to find what they're looking for in terms of a character or a moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Phil, You're the playwright.
Yeah.
Do you, when you're writing, are you imagining the people that you want to be in the play? And do you look at different ones on IMDb or the different areas of what's out there? Because there's so many people today that are using, instead of sending their resumes and acting, whatever, you can find them anywhere. How do you look for people?
Well, one of the things I do, of course, is try and create characters and allow them to interact in the theater of my mind as I'm composing. And sometimes I'll be influenced by Hollywood stars, you know, who are sort of close to the characters, or I've seen them play different roles of that might be similar to a character, somewhat similar to a character that I'm working with in a script. So they might be inspiration for me that way, or there might be actors in the area whose work I've seen or that I've worked with. I've seen performances that I admire from them, you know, and I can conceptualize them as being the actors who could develop this role or this part, and sometimes that assists me in the composition process.
Right.
Yeah.
Barbara, let me ask you this question. You know, some actresses actually go so deeply into their parts, like Meryl Streep, certain actresses, and do you do the same thing? Do you actually live the character?
If I don't, I won't play it. In other words, it's honesty. In other words, you read the script, and I'm into the playwright's mind. What is he or she trying to bring to life? And if I don't dig deep into myself and my own experience, whether it's in psychology or where I've lived in the country or anywhere else, and lived with different people in different settings, they're all there. And if I don't pull out those experiences to begin to create the character, I'm not honest as an actor. So I've seen shallow acting, and I can see right through it, and I would never condemn those performers because that's the way they work. But for myself, the honesty is in the depth. I call it, from the acting classes I've taken, externalizing the character. In other words, bringing them out from my inner core and my head and my heart and my soul. If I don't do it that way, I'm not being honest to the craft, to the art.
And on that note, we need to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Phil, Barbara, and Paul right after these messages.
We'll be right back on Born Before 64 after this commercial.